This gym conflict crushed the social contract. It's a growing public crisis. Let's break it down.
Right in the heart of Miami's Little Havana, a place usually defined by its vibrant culture and tight-knit community, a local Planet Fitness was supposed to be a sanctuary for your health. This is a franchise that literally markets itself as a judgment-free zone, a place where you're told you can work on yourself without looking over your shoulder. But on a Friday in mid-December, that promise of safety was completely shattered. A 35-year-old named Kiara Bryant was in the women's locker room, but her behavior started veering way off the tracks of what anyone expects in a civilized society. Reports say she started screaming, making such a scene that the staff actually had to step in. It's one of those moments where the thin veneer of social decorum just starts to peel away, revealing this volatile tension that's always simmering under the surface of our daily lives. The staff, who are just there to keep the peace for everyone else, suddenly found themselves staring down a situation that was about to spiral way out of control. When a male employee finally stepped up to ask for a little bit of order, the whole vibe shifted from a simple nuisance to a direct, ugly confrontation. The guy was just doing his job, literally just asking her to lower the volume or head out. He even gave her a fair warning that the cops would be called if she didn't stop the disruption. But instead of just walking away or calming down, she chose the path of total opposition. The fight moved from the privacy of the locker room right to the front desk, the one boundary that's supposed to separate the staff from the chaos. But on this day, that boundary meant absolutely nothing. The surveillance footage shows this chilling shift in energy as she gets increasingly irate, closing the distance and completely ignoring the workers' attempts to de-escalate. It's a gut-wrenching reminder of how fast a standard customer service interaction can turn into a scene of unpredictable hostility, leaving workers totally vulnerable to people who refuse to acknowledge basic boundaries. Things hit a fever pitch when she decided to vault over that high reception counter, not just once, but multiple times. This wasn't some lapse in judgment. It was a sustained, deliberate physical attack. Once she got behind that desk, she cornered the employee and started raining down closed-fist strikes to his head and face. And look at the worker. He showed incredible restraint by not hitting back. He just went into a defensive shell, covering his face and trying to retreat in that tiny workspace while she unloaded on him. The footage records at least 8 to 10 solid impacts. Meanwhile, other staff members just stood there, looking paralyzed by how fast the piece was obliterated. This was a total breakdown, a complete failure of that judgment-free philosophy when it's forced to face raw, unbridled anger. This employee had to just take a barrage of hits while trying to protect himself, a tragic reality for service workers today in a world where respect for the individual has basically vanished. The physical price of this encounter was immediate, and it was ugly. This young man, we're keeping his name private while he recovers, ended up with a broken nose and some serious facial trauma. He was rushed to the hospital, but the damage goes way deeper than the physical. Think about the psychological weight of being totally neutralized in your own workplace, the one spot you should actually feel secure. The attacker, Kiara Bryant, was eventually picked up by the Miami PD and booked for battery and disorderly conduct. But here's where the real outrage kicks in, the legal fallout. Despite the clear video evidence of a brutal attack and a broken nose, her bond was set at a measly $150. To a lot of people watching this, that feels like a second assault. It's a message that the safety of a hard-working citizen is worth less than the price of a standard gym membership. That massive gap between the violence of the act and the leniency of the court is exactly why people are demanding a return to real law and order. Now, the victims' lawyers are pushing hard to get these charges bumped up to a felony. They're making the obvious point. A broken nose and a repeated physical assault shouldn't be treated as a simple misdemeanor. The community has rallied behind the worker, and people are rightfully putting the system under a microscope for letting individuals like this back onto the streets so fast. Planet Fitness did release a statement saying she's banned for life from their gyms, which is the bare minimum, but it doesn't even come close to touching the trauma she inflicted. This whole thing is a grim case study in the rot of our traditional values. We've reached a point where the person trying to keep the peace is treated like the villain, and the person causing the chaos gets handled with soft-on-crime protocols. Looking at that footage, you have to ask, what kind of society are we building when a simple request for quiet lands you in the ER? This isn't just about one gym employee. It's about the standard we're willing to set for public behavior across the entire country.
This report is complete, but the fight is just beginning. Subscribe now to stand with us.